Okay, so good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity of Charlotte on this cold and snowy morning. If you are watching this, you are either live watching this on Zoom, or possibly you're watching this on our YouTube channel later on. We have canceled our in-person service, so these are your only two choices, Zoom or on YouTube. But welcome. My name is Reverend Jim Ernston. I am co-minister here along with Reverend Lisa Herklotz, and you will be hearing from her as she speaks and shares her talk, her lesson, her message for the week here as well. So I am going to share my screen as we move into our service, and we're sharing sound. Okay. And you should be able to see that mission statement. So even though you are muted at this point, I would encourage you to also say out loud with me as we repeat together our mission statement. This is the mission of why we come together. So, Unity of Charlotte is the place where we nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. Simply put, we are here to love, grow, and serve. Absolutely. Love, grow, and serve. If you're here for the first time, we'd love a chance to get to say hello for you. And if you are, maybe simply put your name and maybe where you're from in the chat box, and somebody will welcome you here. Normally in person, we would be able to turn around and wave at you, but if you're here for the first time, go ahead and use that chat as well. If you, and let's see, we also want to encourage you to find out what's going on within Unity, these different ways. We have a website, we have a newsletter, Facebook, we have that YouTube channel with all of our services. We have Instagram, we have Bluesky, and if you're in person, we have that bulletin board as well. So those are all the different ways that you can find out what's going on with us. At this point, let's go ahead and review some of the announcements that we have for this week. So obviously, within the Carolinas, we have ice storm warnings and alerts, and we're asking everyone to please be safe, only go out in emergencies, try and stay off of the roads, stay at home. So that's why we're on Zoom only here. We want everyone to be safe here as well. We had planned on having a potluck Sunday, but the little smiley face looks kind of sad today, and that's because we are postponing until next month. We are canceling our potluck for the month of February. Also, our volunteer appreciation is going to be rescheduled, so that was going to happen today. We want to let everyone know that we haven't forgotten all of our beautiful volunteers, and we do want to appreciate them, but that will be rescheduled. We were going to do that after our potluck as well. Our annual meeting is coming up on March 1st, and that will happen after an abbreviated service. We will have an annual meeting. Our board will give us great information. We'll also have a chance to vote on brand new board members. And we would love for you to update your membership, if you are a member, to update your membership information. Do that using the clipboard and all those forms when you're in person there as well. This is updating your member information for the full year of 2026. And every once in a while, we do want to update that membership to keep you updated and active on our roles. So again, those forms are available in Cafe Unity when we're there as in person. On next week, so this is next week on Sunday, February 18th. This is after the service. We will have a special presentation. This is Understanding Alzheimer's and Dementia. The folks from the Alzheimer Association, and specifically Deborah McMillan, will be doing a special talk on healthy living for your body and brain. So that will happen after our service. This is sponsored by the SSAM Group, our Spiritual Social Action Ministry, and specifically Barb Cunningham. So we can thank Barb for getting that all set up for us as well. Let's go ahead and move into an opening prayer at this time as we settle down and move into this sacred time together. I invite you to just relax into your chair, into your sofa, whatever you're sitting on. Allow your shoulders to drop down and move as you move within. Allowing your focus to move instead from your head. Travel those few inches, those 18 inches down into your heart space as you begin to feel and know from the heart and feel that gratitude. Gratitude for the technology that we're able to use. Even on a snow day such as this, we're still able to come together as a ministry, as Unity of Charlotte, as a congregation, as we come together, as we hear this message, as we enjoy the music, as we participate as a community. We're so grateful for this chance to be here today. We acknowledge all that's going on in our world, maybe even some of the strife that we're feeling, some of the anxiety. But we know that we move above and beyond that to love, to peace, into that harmony that we know is ours as we connect with our divinity, with that Christ nature, that knowledge of knowing who we are at this very moment. And that gives us this wonderful feeling coming together and knowing that we are one. And with that knowledge, we say, and so it is. Amen. At this time, we also want to encourage you to, if you know somebody or a situation that is in need of prayer at this time, this is our chance to share this space, this prayerful space. And since if you're live and on Zoom, you can use that chat box at this point. You can type in a name or a quick situation and share it with this group as we all hold together in prayer these names. So go ahead and do that now. You can either say it out loud or type it in the chat. We hold these names, we hold these situations in our heart, knowing that ultimately all is well. We also have our unity prayer of oneness that keeps us focused and centered as well. I will say it out loud. Reverend Lisa and I will say this out loud. You can say it at home as well, even knowing that you're muted. But let's go ahead and say that at this time. There is one presence and one power in my life and universe, God, the good, omnipotence. Also know that you can go online. So go on to our website, which is unityofcharlotte.org. And along the menu there, look up prayer, and there is a place to enter your prayer request. Once you hit that button, that enter button, and submit that prayer, it will go to our prayer team. They will hold you or that situation or that person in prayer for 30 days. We forward those prayers to Silent Unity, in Kansas City, and they will be prayed over for an additional 30 days. And when we come back together, know that there's always that physical prayer box that you can fill that out using a pen and put that in the box, and it gets to us pretty much the same way. If you're in need of a prayer with a human at any time of day, 24/7, know that you can always reach out to Silent Unity. These are folks in the Kansas City area. That number is 816-969-2000, and you can pray in person with somebody right there and then. So know that Silent Unity is available to us every day of the year, 24/7. At this point, we do have our daily word. So our daily word for today is intention. My intention is to act with love and kindness. Setting an intention, deciding at the start of the day to be loving, considerate, and compassionate, colors all my interactions and activities. It's making a commitment to myself that no matter how the day unfolds, no matter what happens, and no matter what other people may do, I will remain steadfast. I begin with God. After a time of prayer and meditation, I envision divine love opening my heart and kindness inspiring my words. The sacred connection I feel in prayer elevates me above the cares and concerns of daily life, making it easier for me to be serene and unperturbed by any irritations I encounter. My intention is to carry the gifts of spiritual living with me always, my blessings to share. And from the Old Testament, the book of Jeremiah 9:24, I act with steadfast love, justice, and righteousness in the earth, for in these things I delight, says the Lord. Again, the word of the day is intention. My intention is to act with love and kindness.
Okay, I'm coming. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. Hi, everyone. It's good to see you via Zoom. So grateful for technology. We are going to be talking today about living aligned. Living aligned. This is something we talk about all the time. As a matter of fact, I would say every spiritual practice we teach has the purpose of learning to live aligned. But what does that really mean? Well, we're going to use probably what you might consider an unlikely parable, but it works perfectly. And it's one that I have myself even misunderstood. Because when we talk about living aligned, let's talk about times when we feel like life isn't going our way. Things seem to be falling apart. We make plans, they seem to unravel. Circumstances seem to stubbornly not change, or perhaps they're continuing to change in very unexpected ways. All of these things happen to all of us in this lifetime. And most of us have been taught, either explicitly or subtly, that to be optimistic when things go wrong is naive, maybe even ridiculous. And I know I've myself have stood in that place. And there's a subtle cultural consciousness that tells us that joy is something that has to be earned, and that really gratitude is something that we should wait until things get better or we get what we want. But this really isn't what we teach at Unity. Really, we teach something that's really quite radical. We talk about our inner stance, our inner state of mind, our inner beingness that shapes our outer experience. And this is the most spiritual thing we can do, is to choose how we think, we believe, and we see. What mindset are we coming from? And this is what we mean by living aligned. So let's turn to this unexpected spiritual teacher whom I am guessing most of you know. How many of you remember Pollyanna, the movie Pollyanna? You can just, yeah, I see a few hands. I can't see all of you, but I'm sure that some of you are familiar. Now, Pollyanna is probably often misunderstood as just being cheerful or unrealistically positive. And I know even myself, I have probably said in my lifetime, "Oh, don't be a Pollyanna. Don't be a Pollyanna." Anybody said that? It's because we have this negative bias. Hang on. I'm hearing an echo of myself. Hang on. So Pollyanna, I started to think about it a little bit more because Reverend Jim brought her up. And I thought, yeah, we teach positive thinking at Unity, but we don't want to be Pollyannas. Then I started to remember things about that movie, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to take another look. And the more I looked, the more my heart opened up, honestly. And I thought, oh, she is so much more. This story was so much more than just optimistic thinking. So we're going to use Pollyanna today as a spiritual parable to talk about living aligned with life, with truth, with oneness, with joy. Because her story is not one about denial. It's actually one about discipline. Pollyanna, if you remember, a little bit of history, this was written in 1913. It was a novel by Eleanor, and I am not going to remember her last name. I didn't write it down. 1913. Now, that was, I think, interesting because, as you will recall, if you've taken our New Thought history class, the New Thought movement was underway in the early 1900s. That when Charles and Myrtle Fillmore were just starting to form Unity. So there was a new thought being presented in our culture. And that new thought is what we're teaching today. And as we look at and see what Pollyanna did, we're going to understand how she represents that new thought. In the movie, there was a silent movie that starred Mary Pickford. I don't remember what year that was, but the Disney film came out in 1960. And I'm wondering if any of you could remember who the star was in that. Yes, Reverend Jim's raising his hand. Who was it?
Haley Mills.
Haley Mills. She actually won an award for that. There was another version, a British version, that came out in 2003. I just recently watched that, and it was, I believe, profound. I would highly encourage all of you to go take a look if you have a chance to go see the 2003 film. We saw it on YouTube. Now, what you'll find is Pollyanna, if you don't know, Pollyanna is a young girl who her mother died when she was young, and she was around, 11 or 12, and her father passes away. So she has to go live with her aunt, who is a very staunch, unhappy person. And she moves into a small town with a lot of unhappy people. But she brings with her such an optimistic consciousness that she changes everything in that town and all those relationships. Now, what she does is she has this thing called the glad game. Her father taught her this game. So clearly she was raised by parents who had this consciousness of optimism. The glad game is the intentional practice of finding something to be grateful for, even in difficult situations, finding something to appreciate, even when things are difficult. Now, her father taught her this game, but it's not a game that's just used during crisis. It's actually something that you do as a habit. And as you do it, it becomes a way of living. And this kind of living is what we call living aligned with your truth, with your divinity, and with life. So there's some interesting things to note about the glad game, because it's not just a willy-nilly thing. There are some very specific guidelines and rules about how you play it. For instance, you must start with what is. You admit if you're disappointed. You admit you're feeling lost. You admit that something is an inconvenience and you're frustrated. You admit where you are first. It's not about denying what is. It's accepting what is exactly as it is. And then look for what can still be appreciated. The reason to be glad must be genuine. It's not something that is forced or faked. It's something that has to be true enough for us to actually feel sincere. So that's very important. You can't just make something up. Also, it's recognizing that gladness changes me. It changes us, not the facts. It's not about trying to manipulate outcomes or people. That's really important, but it's finding the freedom in the situation where you will find yourself. The next thing is it's meant to become a habit, not just used in a crisis, as I mentioned before, because as it becomes a habit, it becomes your way of living. Also, what's more subtle in how this game is played is that it works when it arises from love. Not obligation, not performance, not pressure. Not if you're feeling doing it because you're obligated or you're trying to perform because you think it's the right thing to do. It's not going to work. It has to come from a genuine place within us. That is love. And finally, it's never about you should be glad. We have a choice, and it's our choice. So there's no superiority. For Pollyanna, she never felt superior for being glad, and she never tried to weaponize positivity or to shame people into cheerfulness. She accepted them exactly as they were, but she knew she had a choice to be glad or to experience life as hard. So in Unity, we call this a spiritual practice. We call this conscious alignment of our thoughts with truth, with the divine truth that we have come to know. Okay, so that's Pollyanna and the glad game. Now let's take a look at a couple of the spiritual principles that we're talking about aligning with, which is what Pollyanna modeled for us. The first one is the creative power of thought. This unity principle says that the thoughts we hold in mind produce after their kind. This is what the Fillmores taught, our co-founders. Now, this is not wishful thinking. This is spiritual law. When we speak about principles, we're talking about spiritual law. We're talking about an immutable fact of the way the universe works. Now, the important thing that we notice with Pollyanna is she doesn't deny hardship. She doesn't deny how she feels. In the movie, she gets mad, she gets sad, she gets fearful, but she knows that she can choose her interpretation, knowing that her meaning shapes her experience. She doesn't deny what's happening. She simply refuses to let it have the final word. Let me say that again. I think this is really great. She doesn't deny the hardship she's experiencing. She refuses to let the hardship have the final word. So we always have choices. From Eric Butterworth, who is one of our Unity authors, he put it this way: you do not change your life by fighting conditions. You change your life by changing your thoughts. You do not change your life by fighting conditions. What we resist persists. We teach that often, right? We change our lives by changing our thoughts. In other words, realigning with a different set of beliefs than where we might find ourselves in that moment. So at Unity, we're not teaching to pretend that everything is fine. That is not what we teach. That's the misunderstanding, I think, of Pollyanna. We tend to, I think, and I know I've done it myself, to say, no, don't be a Pollyanna. It means don't deny what is it you were experiencing. Is to deny what you're experiencing. That's the misunderstanding. To truly understand her is to understand she never pretended. She was the most authentic and genuine character I've ever experienced. So instead of trying to pretend everything is fine, it invites us to anchor our thinking in what is eternally true. And I want to say that again because it's really the foundation of the importance of this spiritual law. It invites us to anchor our thinking in what is eternally true, even when appearances suggest otherwise. So when I am afraid, when I am stressed, when I am feeling sad, I don't deny that sadness. I give space to that sadness, but my thoughts go to the eternal truth behind whatever is causing that sadness. It is about remembering my own divine nature. It's about remembering the goodness in this world, the goodness that's in this world because it was created out of good. So regardless of what the appearances suggest, we are always looking for that divine within the situation. Okay, let's move to the next spiritual law, and that is gratitude. That unity principle says gratitude opens the way for greater good. Now, we've talked a lot about gratitude. I know we spent an entire month, I believe, on speaking about gratitude and how important it is. And it's not just the act of gratitude. It is about how gratitude shifts our consciousness back into alignment with the good and the divine that we are. For Pollyanna, her glad game basically at the heart is practice of gratitude. And that's at the very basis of our teachings. It's one of our spiritual practices. So Myrtle Fillmore, co-founder of Unity with Charles, understood this deeply in her healing work. She says, gratitude stabilizes the mind in truth and prepares it to receive more. Gratitude stabilizes the mind in truth and prepares it to receive more. Gratitude steadies our mind. Think about when you're worried and stressed, how the monkey mind starts in, right? The mind just starts shooting. It's just like, oh gosh, I was there just yesterday. It doesn't take that. It's not that hard to find. It's our human nature to go there, to start worrying about things and to start pinging off of things. And then it starts to spin on things. That's not a steady mind. But if we pause and can find something to appreciate, a genuine sense of appreciation, our mind quiets. It gets more focused and it opens. Not only does our mind open, but our heart opens. Now we are ready to receive a higher vibrational experience. We are able to perceive things from a different perspective. So gratitude doesn't mean we like everything that happens. It means we trust that good is still present. We trust even in difficult and concerning situations that good is still present even now. And we seek for that, and we call that forth. All right, so that's power of our creative thought, the creative power of our thoughts, that's gratitude. Now we're going to talk about seeing the Christ in everyone. This unity principle is foundational. This is really based on principles 1 and 2, that there is only the power and expression of God, creation of God, and then we are that. Not just we, but everyone is that divine. And we call that Christ, the divine potential within every person. They may not be expressing it. Sometimes we're not expressing it, but it doesn't mean it's missing. Pollyanna had the incredible ability to see past the bitterness, the fear, and the rigidity in others. In the movie, her aunt first treats her quite strictly and harshly, and she doesn't like it. She even cries in her room, but she seeks good. She seeks for things that she can enjoy and appreciate in the environment she's in. And she treats her aunt with kindness always. And eventually her aunt can't help but soften. She doesn't label people by their wounds. She meets an old gentleman on a walk that they take, and he's clearly a very crotchety old man that doesn't want to be messed with, most people don't even talk to him anymore. That does not faze her. She speaks to him and shares her heart and talks about sweet little things, and pretty soon he just can't help but fall in love with her. So Pollyanna doesn't label people by their wounds. She sees them for who they can possibly be. She sees the good in them, and she says that all the time, that there's goodness in everyone, and that's what she looks for, always. So her way of seeing calls for transformation without confrontation. She doesn't need to confront anyone, but she's also not a wallflower. She's very clear. She speaks her mind very clearly, but from a place of love. I think that one of the most transformative aspects of Pollyanna is the way she sees others. And this is what we're really called to do. She doesn't meet people where they're stuck. She meets them where they're possible. Isn't that amazing? She doesn't meet people where they're stuck. How often do we meet people that are in bad moods and they're grouchy and they say unkind things? But if we could look at them in that moment and recognize that's just where they're stuck, but it's not what they're fully capable of, and see beyond that, we can then reach to a new way of connecting. And the incredible thing about that is when we do that, we awaken that in ourselves. So here at Unity, we teach the Christ is the divine potential within every person. Pollyanna embodied this beautifully. She looks past the bitterness, the fear, the rigidity, and she beholds the good. And that way of seeing becomes healing. It becomes healing. Emily Cady, who wrote Lessons in Truth. Thank you. I have my little prompter next to me. Emily Cady wrote Lessons in Truth. It's one of our foundational books at Unity. She reminds us in that book, we become a healing presence simply by beholding the good in others. We become a healing presence simply by beholding the good in others. Let that sink in for a moment. I've heard the same sentiment spoken across a lot of the faith traditions. In Buddhism, certainly, they teach this. Jesus certainly taught it. Jesus didn't condemn. He met people and saw their possibility and called forth that light in them, and they were healed. We become a healing presence by beholding the good, not by correcting them, not by trying to fix them, not by trying to change them in any way, but by being the presence of seeing what they're capable of and the Christ within them. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Okay, talked about the creative power of thought, the healing power of gratitude, and seeing the Christ in everyone, including ourselves, by the way. This pertains to seeing the Christ in you. Our final Unity principle is love. Love as transformational power. Love is the great harmonizer and healer. Pollyanna didn't try to change people. She loved them. She accepted the grouchy old man. She didn't tell him he had to be happy. She just offered her own happiness. And it wasn't fake. It was real. It was genuine. It was simply who she was. And that kind of love, that real love, it is not passive. Myrtle Fillmore, in her healing letters, wrote that love is the great dissolver of all difficulties, the healer of all ills. Wow. The great dissolver of all difficulties, love. So when we're experiencing difficulty, what do we need to call forth then? Love. That's not always easy to do when we're feeling angry at injustices, when we're feeling helpless or lost as to how we can affect change in the world. This is the most important thing we can do, is to live aligned with this love which is the Christ within us. What Pollyanna did is she softened their hardened hearts. She softened them simply by loving them. And when she did that, she restored connections, not only connections between her and others, but connections they had lost with each other. And it renewed the entire community. I'm telling you, it's a great movie. You got to watch it. It's so good. Reverend Jim can tell you, I cried my eyes out at the end. My heart was just so open. But because Pollyanna it was just the most beautiful, profound experience of what living aligned is and how it can look. So let's talk about James Dillett Freeman. He is a poet, a unity poet. He wrote many books. And in one of them, he said, love never fails because it does not coerce. It reveals. Love does not coerce. It reveals. When we stand and simply love someone and see the goodness in them, it may not happen right away. There was one woman she went to who was sick in bed and just didn't want to get out of bed, didn't even want them to open the curtains to see sunlight. She came every day and just shared things with her, brought her things that she knew she would like, taught her the glad game, but she couldn't quite, took her a while to get it. But when she finally did, she was transformed and she got out of bed and she began to connect with people again. This is the kind of love that unity teaches. It works quietly, it is persistent, and it works without force. It works because in and of itself, it is a force, but it's the natural force of our most authentic self. Oh, Pollyanna. I never thought I'd be teaching Pollyanna, and I will never again say, oh, don't be a Pollyanna. Now I'm walking around going, be Pollyanna, be Pollyanna. That's what we need, more Pollyannas in this world. I'm striving to be more like Pollyanna. So let me just recap. We talked about Pollyanna and her glad game, finding and being able to appreciate something about whatever situation you find yourself in, making it a habit. As you make it a habit, not just something you practice when things are challenging, but something you practice all the time, it then becomes your way of living. It becomes your way of living aligned. And what we are looking for in this glad game are the eternal truths that will bring us love, joy, a profound peace, and also wisdom and guidance to know what to do next. So what does Pollyanna teach us about living aligned? That we have the power to choose our thoughts. We have the power to put into practice the spiritual laws that we have come to know of gratitude, of love, of faith, of the power, creative power of our thoughts, and the power of our own divinity, the power to remember our divinity and to allow it to live through our humanity. So my question then to you, as I wrap this up, is how will you live the glad game in your life? How will you live the glad game in your life? And before we end and we move into our meditation with that question, the daily word was so perfect for today. And I'm just going to read the last sentence of it because I think it was a perfect summation. My intention is to carry the gifts of spiritual living with me always, my blessings to share. My intention is to carry the gifts of spiritual living with me always, my blessings to share. That's really a beautiful summation of what living aligned really means and how a perhaps unlikely spiritual teacher shows us what that is. So I have a closing affirmation for you that you may take into meditation, because we're going to go into meditation in just a moment. It is, I trust the goodness of life unfolding now. I'm going to say that again. I trust the goodness of life unfolding now. Take a moment to take those words in and then say them aloud with me. I trust the goodness of life unfolding now. I love you. I bless you. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here in Zoom to share this message with me, to be a Pollyanna along with me. And I see the light and the divinity in each one of you. Now let's take a moment to go into meditation. Take a moment to gently close your eyes. Sit back now and let all the words go. Let your thoughts relax. Let your body relax. Just a second. Take a deep breath in. Hold it for a moment and then release it on a sigh. Take another deep breath in. And let it out on a long, slow exhale. And as you do, feel your shoulders relax. Your hands rest in your lap and relax. Your legs, your feet supported on the floor, relax. And just appreciate this sense, this moment of being able to simply let go, to be here now, and to let everything come into a calm, relaxed state. As your breath returns to its natural rhythm, bring your focus to your heart center. Feel a sense of warmth and light glowing at your heart center. Take a moment to simply feel that presence within you. This is a presence of love, a presence of wisdom, a presence of peace. Not peace that comes when everything is okay outside, but a peace that comes from deep within, from our eternal beingness that we sometimes lose touch with. But now we turn within and we reconnect, we wake up to, we bring back into our awareness our own eternal presence, which is a shining reflection of God light, of spirit. Just breathe that in for the next minute. Then let's affirm together, I trust the goodness of life unfolding now. From this place I know I trust in the goodness that is unfolding in life now. If any challenging situations come up, let them. Give them space. In this light, you are safe. Imagine that situation, that person, and say, I see beyond the circumstances as they appear. There is always divine potential in every person and situation. I claim that good is unfolding now in perfect order. Before we close, set your intention. I set my intention to live from the glad game, to live from the spiritual awareness of good unfolding in every circumstance and situation and person. And gently bring your attention back to your breath, feeling it gently flowing in and out. In and out. Let your focus move up behind your eyelids. And before you open your eyes, be aware of this feeling. Claim this intention and know that we will bring it forward into our lives as even when we move from this service. And gently blink your eyes open. Namaste.
We now get a chance to experience the incredible power of giving and receiving. It is your very presence and your generous gifts that you offer that feed the vitality of this community and allows us to continue to love, grow, and serve each other and our world as well. Many different ways for us to give, and you've seen those as consistent givers as well. I invite you to hold your blessing. We don't have that, or did we? Hold your gift in your hands as we bless it together, okay? Out loud, joyously, I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. Know that we also have an opportunity to use these QR codes. This will take you to unityofcharlotte.org, or you can use that PayPal website as well. I'll give you a chance at this moment if you want to go online. This time we want to come together and join our voices in our prayer for protection. So out loud, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. We are light, love, power, and presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.